Yo, people, welcome back. Lateness is greatness. Back into the building. You already know what time it is. It is time for the earliest all-you-can-eat Chelsea, ironically, coming in late. Listen, by the way, people, I did make it late, but kind of for a good reason. No one really expects it on a Wednesday. So, it's, just give everybody an opportunity to get in here from the beginning because, it'll be back on Thursday next week, but we just moved it to Wednesday just this once.
That's such a good excuse. Such a good excuse. Well done, Matisse.
Yeah, no one was.
I fell for it too. I fell for it.
Need to give people longer just to get, oh damn, it's on today. All right, you know what I mean. That's what I'm thinking. Younes, look at the new layout. We got a menu. How are you doing now?
Brilliant, isn't it? I mean, yeah, people, you get to choose. Obviously, choose wisely. Look at the menu. Make your selection. The waiter will be over to your table very shortly.
Don't forget the tips. Don't forget the tips.
Don't forget to tip, always. We're charging you service charge anyway, so it's cool.
Every time a super chat comes in, that's the tip. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Exactly. But no, I'm good, man. I'm good. Obviously, it's a Wednesday, but it had to be done. And yeah, this is probably a good time because we've got the game tomorrow. There's things to discuss. Yeah, man, I'm pumped. I hope all of you are too. And looking forward to it.
100%. Technically, people, we are early, a whole day early. So
yeah.
Just saying. Miz, how are you doing, bro? How are you doing?
Yeah, good, man. Good. There's a lot that's been happening, so it'll be good to sort of digest that with you guys right here. And obviously, massive shout out to the live chat. They've never failed us, man. They're always here, always supporting us. Matisse, is everything good at your end? But yeah, look, man, I'm glad that we're here and we can talk football and hopefully everyone has a good time.
100%. Flyers out here leaking my government name in the chat. Unbelievable.
Flyers, Miz, where in Oz do you live? Sydney, man. Sydney.
Flyers is moving mad. And also, I mean, look at this. When we click on the chat, everybody, Miz is still on screen. Look at that.
Amazing.
So
no more of this. No more
of that. Where his head is like kind of just So it's there's a lot of changes around here, and there's a lot.
Last week was madness.
Yeah, last week was hilarious. There's not many changes in the Chelsea community. I feel like this debate for Tammy Abraham has been running for the last week because I remember speaking about it last week on London's Clubs Carnage, which is kind of when it started because the reports came out where Tammy was not sure if he was going to stay and he might not sign a new contract because we're linked with Haaland. And then fast forward a week later, literally to the day, I'm just seeing the timeline. The timeline is still talking about Tammy Abraham. I don't think I've discussed it with you boys, so that's perfect. And also Mendy, because I feel like the Donnarumma links are there. I don't know how strong they are, but they definitely have been around for a while now. And the fact that he's available for free, and it's just the agent you have to deal with, makes it likely-ish. But we'll start with Tammy Abraham. Just first of all, before we speak about if he's going to leave or if he should stay and Haaland, just the first point is just how highly do you rate him, Younes and Miz? We'll start with you, Younes. Just in terms of the rating the player. If you used to do like a description of the player and then give him a rating, what would you do?
It's a weird one because he's not rubbish. He's not rubbish. I mean, even technically now he is our top goal scorer. Weirdly, it's by a goal, but it counts. However, in my eyes, I do still see him as. I want him to be second choice, but right now, in terms of the strikers that we have and when they deliver, I see him as third choice. And that's how it is. I do think that there is the consensus that he might be stagnating. Like this is what we're getting with him. We're not going to get anything more. And I think that's the prime concern that's on everyone's minds. When you look at a Haaland, for example, and we bring him in, I mean, you ask me Haaland or Tammy, you know what I'm going to say. It's Haaland every day of the week. And that's for any striker we have at the club or anyone that is, going to come in or whatever. Haaland is obviously the number one option you'd go to. The man is banging in goals for fun. So that's what's on my mindset. I don't think that Tammy is, rubbish or he's going to fail or anything like that. No, just is he as good as we want him to be? Is he going to get to a level where we want him to be? Personally, I have that faith that he can get there. I just don't think that he thinks he can get there. And him not making that commitment, even from last season, where all the young boys, and I said this on the video yesterday, someone made a comment and I saw it and thought, oh my God, that's such a good point. We had Reece James sign a 5-year extension. Tomori signed a 5-year. Mount signed a 5-year. Billy signed a 5-year. Hudson-Odoi signed a 5-year. Tammy didn't. That was during Lamps' time. He signed a 1-year extension. That was it. So is he trying to assess his options? Is he 100% in? What's going on? Now we're hearing that obviously Chelsea are interested in Haaland. All of a sudden, the talk is he doesn't want to extend his contract. So I'm not getting the vibe like he really believes he can become number one at Chelsea or that he is going to make it here. I don't know. And he's not exactly lighting up the show when he is on the pitch, despite the others not doing the same either. I can understand. But with Werner, this is the situation we're in. With Werner, he's just arrived. It's his first year in English football. So I know everyone's willing to give him that leeway. And let him adapt to English football. Next season, we can really judge him. I think that's the consensus. With Olivier Giroud, he's 34. Hardly plays. When he does, though, he delivers, you could say 8 times out of 10, right? He gets the goal that you're looking for him to get you. We've seen it in the Champions League. We saw it against Atletico. We saw it against Sevilla. When you want him to get that goal or to play that crucial point, he does it. With Tammy, we're not getting that. And I just, it's a weird one. Personally, I'm happy for him to stay. That's me. I'm happy for him to stay. I don't want him to leave. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think Chelsea want that either. But the realistic option is if Haaland's available and we get him, you're getting goals. So that puts Tammy in a bad situation.
Do you know what is with Tammy is that it's weird because he gives off the impression that he does think he can make it to the top just because of the way that he's come into the club since his first season, taken the number 9 shirt, backed himself to start, from Aston Villa, he's come a long way to come and now start for Chelsea Football Club. And like you said, be back-to-back top scorer for back-to-back seasons. I think there's 2 sides of it. Is he backing himself and then going to leave because he thinks that he can start and be the next Lukaku, so to speak, and, he's the player that then proves us wrong. And then, because some people are putting him in the Salah, De Bruyne and Lukaku measurement and saying we're going to regret this. And then some people are saying he needs to go because he's not good enough. And then there's the other way of looking at it is that he should stay and fight for his place, just like Didier Drogba did. And he had Anelka and he had Torres and he had all these players. Either route that he picks for me is okay. I wouldn't really be able to bash him for picking one route over another because you can see the Lukaku method has worked for him. He went to Everton, was prolific there. And then he went to Manchester United, was prolific there. They didn't really appreciate him. And then he went to Inter Milan, still prolific. He's just an out-and-out goal scorer. However, when people do make that comparison between Lukaku and Tammy, I do think it's a bit silly because they're not really the same player. The only similarities is that they're both from Chelsea and they're both young. That's about it. Like Lukaku, in terms of finishing, is just more prolific. He's always been more prolific. He's always been a better finisher than Tammy. Just a natural finisher in terms of the way that he strikes the ball. He's just a better finisher than Tammy. You can see that when you watch him. You can see it in his technique. And he was like that way before Chelsea even got him. Anderlecht, prolific. West Brom, prolific. Very prolific at West Brom. And then prolific at Everton as well. So it's only really Chelsea where it didn't work out and he didn't get the minutes. But I know people say, Tammy scored goals at Bristol City, Aston Villa. But again, that's not West Brom in the Premier League. That's not Everton, he scored goals at Chelsea, but the thing is with Tammy is that people always want more. I mean, Miz, where do you stand on it?
Man, the way I look at Tammy, and this is where my whole sort of perception comes into play, that you look at all the other youngsters. If we consider Tammy as a youngster still, right, which we probably should, he's going to be 24, I believe, either this year or next year.
Yeah.
But you look at all the youngsters that we have and you look at some of the past ones. Let's look at these ones. Haaland and Donnuruma, there's an X factor. You can definitely say that there's an X factor for Haaland and Donnuruma in terms of his dribbling ability, his pace, 1v1. You can tell there's something there.
Yeah.
Billy Gilmore, you can tell there is something there. Do you know what I mean? Like close control, good ball control. He can be someone of a deep lying playmaker. You can tell that there's something there. Reece James, another one. You can tell there's an X factor. Mason Mount, you can tell there's an X factor. Tell me one X factor for Tammy Abraham. Tell me one thing that you think, you know what? I want to stick with this guy because there's something about him. Tammy's aerial ability lacks. Tammy's, for the structure that he has, the tall, the broad structure, he should be so much more strong to be able to sort of shrug defenders off and turn them around and have a much better hold-up game, have a much better link-up game. He should have a lot more pace, I believe. So, yeah, all up, I can't name you one X factor about Tammy Abraham. And that's why I feel like, well, how can I back this guy? You know, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, he's still young. He could develop into a fantastic striker. But I don't know. For me, that's a massive gamble to take when I can't find a particular X factor. Like you look at someone like KDB, when he was in our ranks, you knew this guy had the passing ability way back then. Everyone could see, even though Jose wasn't using him because of his, I suppose, immaturity back then. KDB was young, but you could tell every time he had the ball, he was very comfortable and he was able to, like, he had that ability to pass well. You know, you can even look back at, I don't know, let's say an opposition player like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can see his growth, how much he's growing. His aerial ability has gone to a different level. So for me, man, I don't know. I can't fully back Tammy Abraham. I know he scored a lot of goals for us last season. I know he's the top scorer this season, but that's not really saying much about Tammy. More, it's probably saying that how poor we've been in scoring this season. So yeah, man. I mean, give me honestly, guys. Give me one reason why you'd want to keep Tammy in regards to his skill set. Tell me one reason why you'd think this is why I'd want to keep him.
Yeah, this is an interesting one as well. As people, there's a toss between obviously the new contract. He's obviously stalling on that because he doesn't know if he's going to be part of the plans. I think Tammy's an interesting one where people will say potentially in a few years' time, like they're saying already with Tomori, oh, we should have kept him, we should have done this, we should have done that. You know, why did we let him go? Or if you get an Erling Haaland, nobody's going to care because I don't think Tammy has the potential to reach Erling Haaland's level, if you see what I'm saying. So that's where I'm like, if we bring in someone like Haaland, then I don't think we're going to regret Tammy because I don't think Tammy's ever going to reach that level just because of what Haaland can do in terms of his finishing. I don't think it can be replicated by Tammy. In saying that, people have also brought up that, listen, this all started with Lukaku. If we had seen Lukaku as the successor to Drogba, Lukaku would have been in his prime now. Tammy, it would have followed up nicely. I think people in terms of next season want to go for the title. And that's where Tammy's argument drops off a bit because can you rely on Tammy to win you a Premier League title next season? Probably not. In 5 years, in 4 years, maybe. You never know. The projection, the potential can go up. I think for his age group, I think he's doing very well. I think, Miz, when you look for a strength, I'd say his movement would probably be, for me, his strength. Because he's always in great positions. It's the end product that lets him down in terms of he's always in great positions, but he almost, even still, you know, even with the crosses, it's just missing out, or the final header is just, you know, not good enough, or the volley, or the position and angling of your body when you're taking on a strike. He seems to fall over himself sometimes and stuff like that.
Matisse, do you remember that post-match last season where Alan Shearer and Ian Wright, they came out with a whole thing about Tammy's movement and whatnot? I do understand what you're saying, but they were having a massive go at how Tammy's movement is not always sharp enough. And that's why he's always, as you said, he's like centimeters away from a Reece James cross. He's like, you know, centimeters away from that through ball. Kovacic puts that through ball against, I believe, Newcastle, the one where he got injured by Lascelles. You feel like he's always just a tad slow. So I don't know, man. I'm not really sure how much of his movement has really improved. I mean, as a striker, I feel like, especially Chelsea #1 striker, you got to be a lot better than that.
Someone said he runs for sometimes when he runs for crosses back post when it should be front post and vice versa. So that's a good point as well. Thor Hammer says the problem with Tammy is that we never play to his strengths. He's a poacher, shouldn't even be touching the ball. Look at Aguero. I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie to you. That is not going to be able to run at Chelsea Football Club, especially when we just signed. I mean, first of all, Aguero and Tammy are nothing alike.
No, nothing alike.
So you're underplaying Aguero's ability outside the box massively there, especially when he was in his prime and he was a lot younger. He can easily pick up the ball deeper and run at people. He was very good at dribbling and getting past people, and he was just light on his feet. Aguero, in terms of his stature, is just such a the low sense of gravity that he brings.
Exactly.
He was always going to be good on the ball. Those type of players usually are always good on the ball. There's absolutely no comparison in terms of Aguero and Tammy. So that look at Aguero part, I really wish you didn't type that. And then on top of the Tammy part, if you sign a striker like Timo Werner, who you really don't want involved in build up too much because his first touch can let him down, even though he is going to be involved because of the position he plays, to then have a striker who has to be in the box all the time, and then you can't involve in build up too much as well. I think that means who do we pass to? Do you know what I mean? And on top of that as well, I think Tammy's build up is interesting because I think at the start of the season, I saw that it had improved. He was getting quite a few assists. I remember the assist that he got. He had a pullback for someone as well in one of the games. I can't remember exactly, but his build up play was looking better. He was getting assists. He was starting to be a little bit more tight with his build-up and less clumsy. But again, it's more of like people wanting that trophy next season, that Premier League title. And I don't think he's quite ready to lead the line for a Premier League title winning team. And by the way, I completely agree. The debate then becomes, do we keep him as a second choice or do we sell him? And I know a lot of people will say we'll keep him as a second choice, but I'm going to give an argument as to why we wouldn't or shouldn't. And then I want to see if you guys still feel the same, because I think it's very easy for people to say, right, sign Haaland, keep Tammy as second choice, and then everything's fine. First of all, I don't think Tammy's going to want to play behind Haaland because Haaland's generational, and who wants to sit behind a generational talent like that? I mean, we've already seen Lamptey leave because Reece James is first choice, and he's not going to try and dislodge him for his whole career. They're in a similar age profile as well. Actually, Tammy's older by maybe 4 years. 4 years, maybe. So that doesn't suit him at all. Being second choice to someone that's younger than you when you're actually still quite young yourself doesn't make sense or doesn't suit him. And also as well, when you look at the age profile, again, I've spoken about it before, but when you look at the age profile of rotation, Aguero to Gabriel Jesus, David Silva to Foden, that's, Azpilicueta to Reece James. There's usually someone older. That's why Giroud would actually make more sense, because he is coming towards the end of his career. People say, well, keep Tammy because Giroud's going to be off soon. Doesn't work like that. Giroud is making sense because he's aging like fine wine. He's 34 years old and he's actually okay with being back up. I don't think Tammy would be. Of course, you want competition for places. Timo Werner's there as well. But at some point, you have to be like, from a player perspective, for Tammy, it doesn't make sense. Either Tammy's going to be first choice or he's going to leave. That's how I kind of see it, especially if you bring in like Haaland. Haaland is too many levels above for it to work. And on slap on top of that, how much is Tammy worth in this market? I'd say 40 million minimum. I'd say 40 million.
Yeah, probably more. Probably more.
Yeah, I think Marina could easily get 40 million minimum for Tammy. So when people are, and by the way, I don't agree with all the disrespect that Tammy gets on the timeline. I think people know that, because for someone that's come in and replaced Higuain, replaced Morata, replaced all of these awful strikers that we've had that have not been delivering in the number 9 shirt, Pato, Falcao, all these guys that we've had to go through to get to Tammy. Obviously, Diego Costa was the exception. You'd think he'd get a bit more respect for just being better than so many others that we actually paid money for. Tammy came in from Aston Villa. I didn't have any expectations. Most people at home didn't have any expectations. I know someone's probably just spat out their food saying, "Oh, I did." No, well, you're part of the very few. He came from Aston Villa. Aston Villa and took on the number 9 shirt at Chelsea. That doesn't happen. Championship to Premier League leading striker and take the number 9 shirt, wear it, own it, and lead the team. That doesn't happen. So I've just got a lot of respect for what he's done in terms of he might not be good enough to lead the line. He might not be good enough to win us a Premier League title right now. I say right now, I'm not making any future projections, but I think he deserves a lot of respect for the 2 years that he would have done, because true say, we've had worse, a lot worse at this club that we've paid 70+ million for. So that's kind of where I stand on it. But when people are talking about Tammy's future, I think look at it the way I've just explained it, if you agree with me, I would say, because I think it's a bit more real than saying that Tammy's going to be able to stay and Haaland's going to stay and Werner's going to stay. That's 3 strikers in a very similar age group. We know in our heart and soul that doesn't really make any sense, and it never works. That's why in midfield people talk about, let's bring Loftus-Cheek back, let's bring Gallagher back, and then Ampadu and Gilmour and then Mount. I'm sorry to tell you, all those players will never be in the Chelsea squad at the same time. I promise you. If you ever see Ampadu, Gilmour, Mount, Gallagher, Ruben, all in the same midfield, I will go bald on this channel for you. Cut off all of my hair. 5 midfielders, all in that age range. No way. I promise you. So, Younes, Miz, I mean, what do you think of his future now that I've just kind of gone through it from my perspective?
You know what's mad? Because you mentioned very briefly there, and I think this is sitting in the back of many people's minds, how we got him from Aston Villa when we sent him on loan, and then he came back. But he done well at Aston Villa, very well, especially in the Championship. But that's a point that I think quite a few people raise, is that his level? He killed it in the Championship, right? Smashed it. But because he's still young, I know some people are quite curious as to see how he's going to develop. So, I don't know. I'm going to ask you guys, do you think it'd be an option, instead of selling, if we did get Haaland, if it happened, because, it's not guaranteed, it's not 100% definitely going to happen, but if it does happen, to send Tammy out on loan to another Premier League club, an Everton or somewhere like that.
But what are we loaning him for, though? Because if we loan him and he comes and he scores loads of goals and he comes back, does he play ahead of Haaland? Like what's the purpose of the loan? That's what I look at in terms of the loan. It's like when you bring in, this is only if it's Haaland, because if it's anybody else, then it's a completely different discussion because they have to be that level. But if it's Haaland and he's 20 years old and he's smacking in goals, regardless of what Tammy does, what is the purpose and what is the outcome of him going out on loan and then coming back? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And similarly, I'm thinking, the purpose of the loan, like when you think about, let's say, send Billy on a loan, the purpose of the loan is for him to get more game time, for him to develop his whole game set and the skills, for him to play in that, deep lying sort of playmaker role that he sort of thrives in. What are we really sending Tammy to do? To develop his aerial ability? Like, he's already getting the opportunity here to do that. Do you know what I mean? To develop his hold up or, I don't know, movement. I mean, if you can't able to do that at Chelsea Football Club when you are getting the time, and then a lot of people are going to say, but he doesn't get the opportunity. No, he does get the opportunity. He may not get a stretch of games, but he does get the games. He definitely got the games last season. So, for me, I don't think the loan works anymore. I think here's the thing, though, Younes, since you've popped up the question, Chelsea's actually given him a contract, though. Chelsea's actually saying, we think you're good enough. Here's the contract. It's Tammy that's saying, well, I will only sign this if you think I'm number one. Chelsea hasn't really said to him whether you're number one or not. We believe you. Here's the contract. He's not taking it. So it's really him playing games in his mind that he's surrendering. He's already surrendering that. I think I can see the rumors of Haaland coming in, and I can see the owner wanting Haaland. He's already made it up in his mind that he's got no chance. And obviously with all the stuff that Tuchel's doing in recent times, how he's hooked him off twice at half time, he sort of summed it up that I probably don't have a future. But in essence, Chelsea's actually given him a future. So it's really up to him.
Yeah,
it's an interesting one because this super chat here says, "How is Werner better than Tammy? Hopefully we get Haaland. Imagine if we lose Tammy and don't get Haaland. Don't want Costa versus Morata situation. I don't think the club will sell Tammy until they know they're getting Haaland, or we'll bring in this other striker and see if the debate changes. Lukaku, because Lukaku's 27, I believe, going to turn 28. He's in his prime, scoring a lot of goals. First of all, would you guys take him as the second option if you don't get Erling Haaland? I'll start with you, Younes.
I want to say yeah, but how much would he cost as well? It just depends if Chelsea are willing to spend the same amount that they're trying to get Haaland with and just take a portion of that and stick it on Lukaku. If they're happy to do that, it's also a little bit of a and we know that there's clubs that have a problem with this, Chelsea specifically, in publicly coming out and saying that they were wrong. You know, not directly, but indirectly. If we go back in for Lukaku and spend a lot of money on him to get him back, that's Chelsea publicly saying we were wrong to get rid of him in the first place. And I don't know if that sits well with Marina or Roman. I know there's hesitancy at that. Exactly. Declan Rice is a prime example. And he left when he was in the academy. You know, so there's still, you know, people out there that don't know Declan Rice was in the Chelsea academy, you know. So if Chelsea have a problem at that level, can you imagine them getting Lukaku back? You know, where everyone knows he was a Chelsea striker. I don't know, but in terms of what Lukaku's doing, absolutely, I would take him. I don't think Inter would let him go though. There's no way Inter would just go, yeah, we'll let go of Lukaku, and Conte specifically will go, I'm giving Lukaku back to Chelsea, the club that I have a problem with. No.
Yeah, he does feel a bit like a Jose Mourinho type. Won't ever come back type thing, because it just doesn't, for me, it doesn't look right if he comes back. He's spoken so much about us publicly as well, and I think it's a lot. People talk about Haaland, but the Lukaku one is far more complicated because Inter Milan are definitely gonna get Champions League. They potentially even win the league.
They'll win the title. Yeah. It's
not like he has a release clause the following season like Haaland does, which kind of pushes Dortmund to sell this season, because if you don't get rid of him this season, you're definitely gonna lose him next season for a fraction of the money you could have got for him because the release clause. And then also Dortmund potentially might not get Champions League football, so they're going to need the money as well. There's a lot more substance to the Haaland link. I think Lukaku is just a striker that's come up where it's like, gets loads of goals, used to have him, link. But is there really any clear substance, any like clear reports and links on him yet? I wouldn't really say so. A lot of people, and also, does Lukaku fit the? I mean, it's very interesting with Chelsea because we seem to be trying to play possession under Tuchel. However, the players that we're going after, I don't know if they mirror that. You look at like Bernardo Silva's and Aguero's, they suit Pep, they suit possession. And then you look at who Chelsea have signed in Timo Werner and potentially going after Lukaku. Do they suit possession teams? That's my question. It feels more like, I mean, I'd much rather see Lukaku and Werner in a counter-attacking team that sacrifice the ball and just hit people on the break. You look at Chelsea under Conte at times, and you think about that game at the Etihad where we beat Manchester City 3-1 and Eden Hazard scored, Willian. Imagine the likes of Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Lukaku, all these guys that we've, you know, either got or been linked with on the break. That, you know, that you get similar outcomes than you're getting there. But to have them in possession-based teams when their first touch is meaty, you know, it doesn't really make any sense to me. Miz, what do you think of it in terms of Lukaku?
Yeah. Look, does Lukaku fit our profile? 100%. That's the kind of profile that you probably want up front. But, I mean, it's what Younes has said as well, and yourself, Matisse, that is that a channel that Chelsea will go down again? I mean, spending all of that money when they got rid of him, you know, a few years back. So, I don't know. I mean, would I want to see him back? Yeah, why not? But at the moment, it's Haaland. Haaland is the number one choice. It's very difficult to look away from Haaland. So, yeah, I don't even want to think about number two option. I don't think Roman has a number two. Roman's quite set on Erling Haaland. So, yeah, for me, it's him. And if it's not him, Lukaku is going to cost, you know, a lot of money, and I don't think it's going to be the easiest sort of deal to happen. The other thing that I want to say is that the thing that you've said, Matisse, after where we really need to now nail down what type of football are we going to play. I think what we're seeing from Tuchel now is not really how we should sort of make it a basis that this is what he's going to do for moving forward for next season. I think we are seeing a lot of Kovacic and Jorginho, sort of a lot more possession, control. I highly doubt Kovacic and Jorginho will be there next season because, I mean, well, they may still be in the squad, but I don't think they'll be the two double sixes that Tuchel might stick with.
I think Jorginho has more chance of leaving because his agent keeps making noise about going to potentially back to Italy and stuff. I still think, funnily enough, I think Kova should 100. I think Kova should be kept because, for me, I'm still not convinced on how we're gonna formation-wise set up, and I feel Kova sometimes can be that guy. He's not perfect in terms of his overall game. We know box to box, he's not gonna be a great finisher. Sometimes he lacks the killer pass. It's a bit inconsistent there, but he's that guy that can do both. He's not really a 6. He's not really an 8. He's just that in between. I feel like that's always good to have that in a squad. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then you know what, like as I was saying, that we need to sit down and figure out, okay, what is the type of football that we're going to get, and then really check the current team that we have and use the players that you truly believe that can work that, and then if anyone doesn't, try and buy players that complement the players that are going to play this particular style out. So this is what I mean. I think at the moment, I feel like we are keeping possession in the sense that it's probably the best way to defend as well. When you have the ball, well, the opposition can't have it. So that seems to be the situation with Tuchel. But I don't think next season Tuchel will just be happy to hold the possession with Kovacic and Jorginho, where I think he'll demand certain things from the double sixes as well. I think he'll demand production as well. He cannot have two players that don't really contribute towards the front line. You need throughout the season for them to be also be able to give something to the front line. So, it's a big thing to think about as to how we want to set up. And even with Haaland, boys, here's a question I want to throw to both of you guys. Even with Haaland, we worried about Tammy. Where does it put someone like Werner? Can someone like Werner match up with someone like Haaland? Like, can they both sort of work together? I initially thought they could, but I feel like Werner, we can see he doesn't like possession. As Matisse said, he's more of a counter-attacking player. Is Haaland a possession-based player? I don't know. So
I feel like Haaland gets involved in the build-up quite a lot.
A lot more.
For me, he's someone that loves to drop deep, get it, and then we saw for the first goal in the Dortmund win for the Champions League, and he does this often. He drops deep, gets the ball, plays it off very simple. People maybe will have question marks because he doesn't look good while doing it. He's literally a rhino when he runs. He's literally a machine. Gives it off simple and then darts into the box. And then gets on the end of it. So the way that he scores his goals is actually usually coming from deep to score. He's not someone that just hangs about and just waits for the ball to come to him. He does like to dart because then he can get the run on the defender. And then how are you going to stop him when your back is to goal? You got just think of it. You're defending in your back four. It would be much easier, or not easier, but it would be much better if you could mark Haaland and he's right next to you, touch tight. If he's gone into midfield and then now he's played it simple and then he's run around the midfield and now suddenly you've got Erling Haaland running at you at full speed like a bloody rhino and your back is to goal, and the wing, and then Sancho's got it on the left wing, or in our case, Hudson-Odoi's got it, or Reece James got it on the wing, and you've got Haaland running at you, and then you've got a turn, and the box is just there, and the cross is... How the hell are you meant to defend that? Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas if he was just touch tight to you, you might be able to just mark him. And so I think his game is better, actually, if he does come deep and get on the ball. That's where I would have a bit of hope that Werner will be able to play with him, because Werner could then run off of it, running behind as well. The only thing is that with Werner is that it's going to be very interesting to see, because we've realized, well, I hope a lot of people have realized now that he's a hybrid. Been saying it for ages. Not a striker, not a winger, hybrid. Literally not a striker, not a lone forward, not a winger, a hybrid. He's got to be able to play with someone. So Haaland, he's got to be able to play with Haaland, because I think Haaland will be Roman's biggest investment for a long, long time. Whereas Werner was signed, and yeah, we definitely paid a good amount of money for him, but it's not enough money for him to just be like untouchable, so to speak. Haaland is going to stay Dortmund if they make top 4. They're 3 points behind. Sancho will leave. Wants to play with Dortmund fans in the stadium. Okay, well, like I said, we'll see, because Dortmund are not a club. They're a selling club, and they know that their release clause is next year. And if Chelsea come in with 100 million this season, and they know they're only going to get 70 next season, they're effectively saying we're willing to lose 30 million. So I don't know their financial situation. So we'll have to see if that's something that they can handle. But I definitely think there's room for movement on Haaland, Sancho. Probably maybe both. If you can get 100+ million for both players, and then you improve your whole squad. Dortmund are very good at scouting for players. They're not. I don't think Dortmund are afraid to lose Haaland and Sancho and then free fall. They've always been able to replace players, whether it be Matt Hummels, whether it be Lewandowski, all of these guys. They've replaced them with no problem. So that's a lot of money for Dortmund. Don't forget, 200+ million is a lot of money. It's not when they're not Chelsea. Somebody just said that Blind has reported, or Falk probably has reported, that Haaland is not potentially interested in Chelsea's project. When it comes to Blind and Falk, I really don't pay too much attention.
Well, Hamatu says Blind.
Blind, I don't know, blind, bro. Blind and Falk.
I love
you know what I mean? I'm going to call them blind and Falk.
Just call them blind, bro. I call them blind.
Blind biled.
Listen, I don't know what to make of this guy. I don't know what to make of them. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're very wrong. In terms of their reports that were wrong, Mason Mount is not happy with the arrival of Kai Havertz, who is set to play in his position, according to German media Blind. Yeah, usually a reliable source. The 21-year-olds are set to fight for the attacking midfield role, and Mount is reportedly concerned that the big signing will be put ahead of him. As a proof of account, Blind points out that Mount is yet to congratulate Havertz on signing on social media.
Bro, they are blind, bro. One thing for certain, Mount is not concerned about no one. This is one thing I can say. Mason Mount, regardless of what people say about his skills, and I've been critical as well. One thing I can never be critical about Mason Mount is the man's mentality is immense. He's literally benched Ziyech and Kai Havertz and Pulisic probably. And then he's secured that number 10 position, or the false 10, whatever Tuchel is doing. This guy's not scared about no competition. You can bring some of the best players. This guy will turn it up for sure.
Yeah, and Werner was going to join Liverpool, and that didn't happen. So we'll see what happens. On to Mendy, because before we get into talking about the games, well, Mendy is an interesting one as well. There's links with Donnarumma. I don't know how strong they are. Obviously, we know his agent is Raiola. Do Chelsea sign 2 players from Raiola in one window?
Man, I said this yesterday. Yeah, imagine Raiola going onto Roman's yacht and having to discuss not 1 but 2 players.
Yeah,
like that's nuts.
Gonna cake. That would be a lot of money in agent fees.
Exactly.
I just don't see, and also, I just don't see Chelsea dealing with Raiola twice. They don't even deal with him once, usually. So then to deal with him twice, when it comes to Erling Haaland, and then on top of that, Donnarumma, who's, by the way, going to be for free. So that negotiation with Raiola is going to be even worse, because he's going to be free, right? And the thing is, what people forget is you don't just have to negotiate with Raiola once. You have to negotiate with him every single time you want one of these players to sign a new contract. And then you have to take on the fact that he's going to be then immersed in your club. And then he's going to speak in the media, and he's going to talk, and he's going to try and stir shit up like he does with Pogba. And for me, I'm just like, do we want it for both? Do we need it? Like, is Donnarumma at the level where it's like, yo, there's nobody else in the world we can go for. We have to deal with Raiola again. It's an interesting one. Also, would he come? Someone just said it there in the chat. Would he even come? We shouldn't really make assumptions. I know he's free. That means he's open to anybody in the world. Does he pick Chelsea? And also, do we have to get him when we've got Mendy? That's the next question, Younes. Do you think we have to deal with Raiola in terms of Donnarumma when we've already got Mendy? I know a lot of people will say Mendy isn't world class, but he's certainly not making glaring, obvious mistakes. He's not conceding goals either. He was not conceding goals for a lot of the season under Lampard, and then it kind of went tits up. Now he's not conceding goals again.
I mean, firstly, before we get into Mendy, I want to say something about Raiola. I mean, we all give him slack, but he's savage. He's just a savage. I mean, the ultimate shithouse agent. Like, it's when you think about it, it's mad. He gets what he wants. Look at his clientele: Pogba, Haaland, Donnarumma. I mean,
Lukaku.
I mean, yeah, we don't like him. We don't like him, but he does get a job done, and he gets $1 in his wallet. So, fair play to him for that. However, look for Mendy or Donnarumma, it's difficult because you can't say no to a free Donnarumma. That's mental. For free. That's outrageous. Yeah. So on that basis, you would say, okay, cool. If we can get rid of Kepa, we bring Donnarumma in, then Donnarumma, Mendy, guys, gladiator, fight to the death. Simple. And whoever ends up number one ends up number one. However, if it didn't materialize, say if we didn't go in for a Donnarumma, say if all this was a smokescreen just for, which is very possible, because again, we know Raiola, absolute shithouse agent. Yeah. He could just be smokescreening all of this, so then AC Milan do offer him a new contract, and for him, it's a win-win. So that could be the case. If that were to happen, I'm cool, because right now Mendy is doing a job, and even when you look at it, and I saw the stat yesterday, Mendy is the second quickest Chelsea goalkeeper after Petr Cech to reach 16 clean sheets. And it's, again, from Ren. So Ren, cheers. Can't wait for goalkeeper number 3 to pop up. But yeah, it's a good thing. So if we do have interest, we go in for Donnarumma and it's for free. Cool. I've got nothing against that, right? It would mean that we have to see what's going on with Kepa. We have to remember as well, next January, if I'm not mistaken, because obviously things have been cancelled and moved about. But next Jan, the African Cup of Nations is scheduled. So Mendy will go because Senegal are one of the best teams in Africa. Mendy goes off to the AFCON. Are we stuck with Kepa? Are people cool with that? Are people happy with that?
No.
Yeah,
Kepa
if Kepa can perform and he's good, then fine. Yeah, and if he does, then getting Donnarumma for free, brilliant. But if nothing materializes, I'm cool because frankly, I trust Mendy. So whatever happens. We'll see.
Insane thoughts. I thought I'm not going to put you on blast. I'm going to allow the chat to deal with you nicely. When you leave a comment like that, you leave that many emojis afterwards, I'm gonna allow the chat to deal with that. So can I leave that there? I'm not gonna respond. Do you know what I mean? I feel like the chat will tell you where you've gone wrong there. But I mean, Miz, what do you feel? I mean, because for me, we can't have a situation where Kepa is second choice next season. He needs to go. But on top of that as well, the point that he makes about African combinations is very good. Very good point. Because we've seen that before. And also, Mendy, I don't think Mendy would have a problem with being second choice. Again, it's just Raiola. How much are we as a club? Because we have financially as a club been brilliant over the last 5 years. We've been very good financially in the way that we balance our books and the way that we go about our things now. Even though people will be like, oh, you spent all this money, they never look at the money we bring in. When you bring in Raiola, you do give that little opportunity for your structure of your club to just go a little bit pear-shaped. Now wages go up and other players, and we see Tammy asking for 180k and it's already started. They're all young as well. A lot of our players are young, so their wages are gonna keep going up as well. Where do you sit on it for Donnarumma? Because I'm just trying to look at the pros and cons of bringing in a goalkeeper. Yes, he's free with Raiola. Do you know what I mean? How do you feel? Is it 100% necessary?
Matthijs, you bring up a really good point. You look at the Pogba situation in Man United. Do you reckon some of the players are happy with all the sort of media attention that Pogba ends up getting through Raiola and all the sort of chaos sometimes that happens in that football club. I don't think as a player you'd be happy with that kind of unsettled sort of situation. So it's a very good point. Yes, in one hand you've got a fantastic goalkeeper who's still young, who's so experienced in club football and also in European football. Let it be in Europa League where AC Milan has spent most of their times in recent times, but still there's a lot of experience there. But then you have this agent that causes a lot of chaos. So for me, the way I look at it is that, one, I think before we even get excited about can we snap up Donnarumma, I personally can't see this happening. I can't see how Donnarumma leaves AC Milan where he could potentially be a legend over there. I'm not sure. I think Robert Noli is the captain over there at the moment, but potentially Donnarumma could one day be the captain of AC Milan. They're now sort of in the upward trajectory in regards to coming back into Europe. They're also in the mix of winning the Serie A this season against Inter Milan. So they're probably in the rise, and they're making their astute sort of signings and whatnot. Tomori is obviously gone over there in recent times. So for me, this seems like a contract sort of negotiation play that's happening, and this is classic Raiola once again. And he's going to do that when Donnarumma comes to us. He's going to play with other and create a whole sort of pandemonium, and you'll know our fan base will be like, Donnarumma out. He's already thinking about leaving when he's just joined us. But that's what Raiola does. He's going to make it a sort of like a villain out of this, out of all of his players. So do I want him? Yes, he's a fantastic player. He would be an improvement, but there's a lot of mess that we have to clean up. Like Kepa is not going to be easy to get rid of. Like you cannot have Kepa, Mendy, and Donnarumma, and God knows what is happening with Caballero. Like I'm not really sure if he still has a contract or not. So, we need to get Kepa out. Then if we get Donnarumma, fine. As Younes said, battle it out between Mendy and Donnarumma. But the way I see now is, I don't know if the goalkeeper situation is a prolific issue as it was last season under Kepa. So what are we really trying to fix here? Do you know what I mean? Like, are we trying to... Donnarumma, I've heard many people say that, yes, his ball-playing ability has gotten better. Yes, he's a probably better shot stopper than Mendy, but then again, is Mendy a bad shot stopper? I don't think he's a bad shot stopper. Donnarumma is very commanding in his box. Is Mendy not commanding as well? Maybe the ball playing is something where maybe Donnarumma edges him, but Donnarumma is not classy ball playing. He's not an Edison. He's not Edison from Man City, where Edison could probably play as a register. Do you know what I mean? He can find those passes from deep. So, what are we really trying to fix here? That's the question. And I don't think that particular position needs to be fixed at the moment as opposed to last season.
Yeah. It's an interesting one as well, because I think, Zippy just put it in the chat. I think from reports that he's seen, Chelsea trying to improve their relationship with Raiola. And that is true, because, of course, they want Haaland. So Haaland is one of those players, and this super chat says it as well. How long will Chelsea miss out on generational talent because they are under Raiola? If it has to change at some point, Haaland is a must generational. That is why Chelsea are trying to improve their relationship with Raiola, is because he has clients like Haaland who are just, you can't turn them down any longer just because of an agent. So I think we've all established and agreed that, it's worth going after Haaland regardless of agent. The question becomes Donnarumma, because has Chelsea's goalkeeping situation been an issue this season? Has Chelsea conceding goals this season been an issue? Not really. I've always brought an alternative like I did with Lukaku. And I mean, Dean Henderson is one that's been brought up in the chat as well. The age profile makes sense. I think Mendy just turned 29. Dean Henderson's a lot younger. Obviously a player that's got a lot of potential, was a great at Sheffield United as well. I mean, that could be an alternative. He's at Manchester United though, so I don't know. I don't really think that's realistic either. I know De Gea hasn't been good. I'd say they try and move him along at some point as well. So he hasn't played any games this season as well, and potentially he could come in and fight with Mendy, but he's already fighting at Man United. So I don't know. It's a weird one. for me. But like I said, people, we'll see what happens in the summer because something's got to go. Something's got to give when it comes to Chelsea versus Raiola. It can't keep going on, and we'll see if these two players get upgraded on. I do want to go into the Liverpool game a little bit as well, not too much, but we have to obviously discuss it because it's tomorrow, and next time we see each other, we're going to have that result and the Everton result as well to look back on. So that's going to be nuts. But just general confidence levels. How confident are we going into this game? Because I am a little bit worried because I'm seeing a lot of their players are coming back fit now, and I don't really know how that's happened because last time I checked, they had loads of injuries, and now suddenly all of their players look to be fit. I saw like Fabinho's back in training, Alisson potentially could be in the team as well. A whole list of players. Levels of confidence, Younes, going into tomorrow. Just where are they at?
I'm on the same wavelength as you. I'm not going to lie. I'm a bit nervous. However, I think the timing to play Liverpool is good. You know, if you want to play Liverpool, you want to play them now, where they're not exactly 100%, where there are loopholes, there are cracks. So, I reckon on that front, there is a circumstance to the game tomorrow that could work in our favour. And that is that defensively, we're solid. We're solid. So that balances out against their attack, which we know can be quite lethal. At the same time, at the back, they're quite leaky. They're not exactly the strongest in terms of defending. And I know our attacking situation is a little bit of a worry. So that you would say balances out. However, if a defense is constantly leaking, you're always offering opportunities for those strikers or those attackers, no matter how bad on form they are. If opportunities are popping up, there's always a chance that they can put the ball in the net. So I think that works in our favour a little bit better than it does compared to our good defence and their good attack, because I think we can contain them, fingers crossed. So on that basis, that makes me a little bit more confident, but it is still Liverpool. It is still at Anfield. I just hope we are a little bit better in terms of creating opportunity, in terms of being a little bit more clinical. And I think we need to go into this game being a little bit brave. You know, we got to be cautious at the back to contain, you know, Salah and Mane and Firmino and all them lot. But we have to be brave going forward. If we're not, I just feel like we could even be put under too much pressure. We don't want that. So, yeah, I'm confident to an extent, but I am also a little bit nervous. I reckon we can get a result tomorrow if we're very disciplined throughout 90 minutes.
Yeah, because for me, it's a must-win game because, again,
definitely
we're not in the top four. So for as long as we're not in the top four, we have to win. Miz, how are you feeling going into it? Because it's an interesting one. Last time we was there at Anfield, I think we lost 5-3, but I feel like there's a lot of goals in this game as well.
I've got a strange feeling on this. I'm neither nervous and neither optimistic. I think that sort of ties that up to be a draw, because I'm not nervous because you've mentioned all of those players back in training, but that is what it is. They're back in training. I highly doubt they'll be starting because they haven't featured for so long. Players like Fabinho and so on and so forth. I highly doubt they're going to be popping up against Chelsea in a very big match in the Premier League. So they'll have a makeshift sort of defense. They don't have Van Dijk. They haven't had Van Dijk for a very long time. I don't even think Matip is there yet. Fabinho was a makeshift, but he's not there as well. I highly doubt he starts. So they've been playing with, I think, the Schalke Loni Kabak or something like that. I think that's his name. And they've got someone from the Championship as well. So it's a makeshift defense there. It'll be a makeshift sort of midfield. It's really their front men. But if your backbone of your defense and your midfield are sort of makeshift, then how much impact are you really going to get from the front three? Because they're not going to be as solid as what you used to be. So from that aspect, I think defensively we've been very strong since Tuchel has taken over. One thing we can definitely say that our defensive organisation, our midfield organisation, the way we quickly collapse in transition, the way we counter-press to win the ball back, all have been fundamentally improved since Tuchel has taken over. But as Younes said, we're not clinical up front. we don't make clear-cut chances enough. We're not making like 4, 5, 6 chances every game where it's clear-cut. Ziyech's opportunity against Man United was probably the biggest opportunity in that whole match, where he was literally right in front, and we missed out on our opportunity to go 1-0 up. But that was it. Like, I can't think of another situation in that Man United game where we were absolutely clear-cut in front of the goal, where it was open goal. So this is the thing. I mean, I just hope that Liverpool's defense do provide us chances. But are we good enough? Who's going to start for us? Is Timo Werner? Can Timo Werner have his shooting boots on and then put some of these goals away? And is it going to be Tammy? Which looks like, I don't know if Tammy's going to be favoured anymore. Tuchel, he wasn't even part of the squad last game. A lot of people are saying that he was injured. Some are actually saying that, nah, he wasn't picked. Tuchel himself has said he wasn't selected for the squad. So if it's not him, then Giroud. Is Giroud the right profile to play against the back line of Liverpool, who are going to press, who are going to probably play up the line? They're going to look for the win as well because they're behind us. So for them, it's a big match. They want to win. For us, it's a big match as well. But I think the desire, this is where I think a draw is probably the most probable answer here. I do want to see us win, but
do you think?
I don't know.
Do you think I was going to say, sorry, do you think we play on the counter? If we know Liverpool are going to come at us, should we play on the counter? You know what, Younes? I've always said the characteristics of our players is counter-attacking football. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to get the best out of Kante as well, if you want to play possession-based with Kovacic and Jorginho, then you can't play counter-attacking football. As soon as you see those two start in the starting lineup, Jorginho and Kovacic, we're going to hold possession.
Yeah.
And opposition looks at it that way as well. That, you know what, you two are very good with possession too. You keep it. We are going to try and nick it off you, and we're going to try and hit you on the counter. So it really depends how Tuchel wants to play this. Personally, I think he's going to go with Kovacic and Jorginho. I think he's going to want to keep the ball. I don't think he'll be counter-attack. I think, if anything, Liverpool will press. And when we are with the ball, they'll just collapse a little bit and try and nick the ball off us with their pressing and hit us on the break. I just don't see how Liverpool are good enough to hold the ball if we've got Kovacic and Jorginho.
It's an interesting one because I personally want to see Kai Havertz at false 9.
I want to see that.
I just feel like now, in a game like this, where regardless of what centre-back Liverpool play, they're going to want to play a bit higher up the pitch than we're used to playing up against. There's not going to be a low block from Liverpool. That's the one thing you can guarantee. Every single team, or most teams we've come up against, have been low blocks. Liverpool's not going to give you a low block. And I would just love to see a situation where we finally play Kai Havertz up top, because we know, first of all, he can drift into the right channels, and we know Timo Werner's going to drift into the left, and they have some sort of relationship from the games. Again, for Germany. So they've got some sort of relationship there and should understand each other's movements. And on top of that as well, whether you're going to play a possession or you're going to play counter-attacking, Havertz should suit both, because he's used to running into space in the Bundesliga. He's got pace. He's got decent aerial ability. Finishing should be good as well. And we know his first touch and things like that should be on point because he played in midfield. The only thing is the strength, but he's not coming up against Van Dijk. So again, no problems there. Shouldn't be any problems. Timo Werner is definitely probably suited to the break. It allows us to be tactically flexible. If we do sit back and we do go with what you're suggesting, Miz, in terms of Kante playing and us going for the break, which I think would be actually a good idea. I didn't want Kante to play against United because I thought we was going to be coming up against low block. I would actually want Kante to play against Liverpool because I think we're going to be sacrificing possession just naturally anyway. Because they're going to push higher up the pitch. But a lot of people will say, well, Liverpool are going to press you. Do you want Kante under the press, or do you want Jorginho and Kovacic to escape the press as well? So there's once again, our midfield is going to be, is there really any right answers? Probably not. I mean, our midfield is just full of players that can do specific things but can't do everything. That's the problem. There's areas in all their game that lack and that give us, reasons to pick them and reasons to not pick them at the same time.
And also, Matisse, our counter-attack is poor. The way we
this is making it awful, bro.
Yeah.
Speaking of counter,
I'd rather us not counter and hold the ball with Kovacic and Jorginho. Like, seriously, just try and just be on the front foot, because when we try and play counter-attacking football in recent times, oh my days. There's that whole thing about Kovacic recently. Did you guys see that footage all over social media, how Giroud got the ball, we were on the break, there was like 4 of our players, like 3 of their players. Giroud then mistimed the pass to Kovacic, and then Kovacic went back, and the whole picture was like, it was 4 of us, and I think 3 or 2 of them, and within 5 seconds, the picture was Man United parking the bus and us got backwards.
Yeah, bro.
That's our counter attack at the moment.
This team don't know how to counter attack. They really don't. Like, the decision making has to be on point if you're going to do counter attacks, and we don't have that. So, 100%. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't even be too confident with that. This chat that's just come up here. I'm pretty sure this person asked me this question months ago and I didn't get to it, so that's why I removed it back on screen. Leicester's midfield is the definition of proper balance.
Yeah,
like
I
love that team.
Their midfield is so, I envy it so much. Not because I don't feel like we have players that have the potential to be on that level or whatever, but it's just the balance, man. Like, they have a title-winning midfield, in my opinion.
They do.
It's so balanced. Like, I've never seen anything so balanced in football for a long time. You look at Man United's midfield, don't really have a natural holding midfielder. You look at, I think only really Man City, I would say. Liverpool, they don't really have the star quality. It's more of a workhorse midfield with the likes of Henderson. Thiago is not really ever fit as well, which doesn't help. I definitely prefer Leicester's midfield. Who else? Arsenal, not even a comp. Tottenham's midfield is good with Ndombele and Højbjerg. But there's no third person because Winks, Sissoko. So again, I'd probably take Leicester's. Leicester's midfield is just so good. It's so balanced. And
all of these players can score, Matisse. All of these players can score. Madison, Tielemans, Ndidi. All of them can score.
Ndidi from set pieces. Tielemans and Madison from open play or set pieces. Madison will take set pieces as well. But Ndidi, in terms of his heading ability from set pieces, will always be a threat. Madison taking set pieces, and Tielemans has got a decent shot on him. In terms of who would I take, I mean, first of all, I'll get it out of the way now. I don't think I'd take Ndidi, even though I think he's exactly what we like, the profile. We do need a holding midfielder of his make, because he's a. The thing is with Ndidi is that he's a natural holding midfielder who can play lone DM, so in 4-3-3, wins the ball, interceptions, all that kind of stuff. But I'm just worried about him press resistant wise and just on the ball. I want someone more well-rounded, because that's what I complain about with Kante. But if we signed Ndidi, I wouldn't exactly complain. I'm just saying, in terms of passing at a top team in the Champions League in that role, I'd want someone who can be a bit better on the ball than Ndidi. Every other part of his game off the ball is fantastic. Very much like Kante, off the ball fantastic. But just on the ball, for me, when we're being pressed, not too sure. He's a destroyer, but just that part of his game there, I'm not too sure. Tielemans, I'm edging towards him because I just think he's just very complete. I think he's the perfect box-to-box midfielder. I think he's just very complete. And I feel like Maddison, we've got players that really should be doing what Maddison does for us. When you've got, Ziyech and Havertz and Mount, these guys should really be doing similar things to what Maddison is going to do in the team. I think I'd probably go with Tielemans, to be honest. I think Tielemans is just a fantastic footballer. I really do. I think he's the perfect 8, can get goals as well. And I think he's the guy that I'll go with. And also, when people had this discussion on Kovacic as well, just to quickly, I know it's got nothing to do with it, but just to segue in. Kovacic, we always speak about Kovacic as world class. And I'm not even going to disagree, because I think in this era, he's probably world class, maybe. But there's a debate to be had there. But he is a very similar player to Dembele, who used to play for Tottenham. I don't know if you guys remember him. Came from Fulham and went to Tottenham. Dembele at Tottenham, the midfielder. That's what Kovacic is. Did we call Dembele world class back in the day? Probably not. Dembele was just a great footballer at Tottenham, extremely press resistant, great on the ball, great at running with the ball, and actually had a shot on him as well. But Dembele played in an era where we didn't speak about Dembele as world class. He was press resistant, and I'm not doing this to slander Kovacic. Everybody knows I love Kovacic, but I'm just saying, if you if you can't agree on one thing, agree on this. The standards of being world class have fallen massively in in this era of football. For me, I spoke about it this week a lot, and the more I think about it, the worse it gets. They've fallen drastically. Because Dembele and Kovacic, they're the same level in my opinion in terms of footballer. Very press resistant, great at running with the ball. I think Dembele physically was probably more imposing. A bit more stronger in a tackle and probably had better shooting, if I'm being honest. Dembele at Tottenham is a very underrated player when he was playing football. He was unbelievable to watch on the ball. Unbelievable. And he never got snapped up by a top club. No one really spoke about him as world class. That's my point. It's not to slander what's going on now. I'm just saying the levels of world class seem to have dropped off, or maybe we just allow more people into the world class category than we didn't. So
I think like back in the day, if we were taking the standard of back in the day, because I completely agree, if we had assigned now what we defined as world class back then, you'd probably say Mbappe, obviously Messi, Ronaldo. Haaland would even be debatable because he's so young. That's it. Like that would be world class. Now, Neymar, now, everyone's world class now. It's mad. Standards have dropped. But I also think that there's an element of reaction. Back in the day, being reactionary near enough didn't exist, as far as I'm concerned, or at least there wasn't any platforms for people to be reactionary on. It was always just combined with them themselves. You'd only hear what's said on like TV and that's it, or in the newspapers. So, I just think it's with the times, isn't it? The culture's changed.
Yeah. Someone said, is it Tane is saying Kovacic was better than Dembele. Personally, I would disagree because I think Dembele, from a physical standpoint and in a shooting aspects as well, has it over him. I think that he's just a bit more well-rounded if I'm talking about end product and final third. There's
no doubt about that, Matisse.
I would
Dembele, if the people that have watched Dembele...
if you've watched Dembele, and his dribbling was unbelievable as well. So I know Kova's dribbling is great as well, but his dribbling is on the same level, if not slightly better. So for me, I'm picking Dembele. Tony...
Only thing is that he played for Spurs. That's probably it.
He did play.
Exactly.
He played for Fulham.
Yeah, and Dembele was a good passer as well. Someone saying in there he was a beast. Physically, he would body people off the ball. You know, if you're talking about box to box midfielder, that's the definition of one right there. Tony here saying it looks like in the future we're going to play a 4-2-3-1. Mount and Kai are going to take 2 of the midfield positions. Do we have to sell Kante and bring in a DM for the third midfield position? Well, I mean, I don't really get where the 4-2-3-1 assumption comes from because I haven't seen any evidence of with us playing that. I mean, I don't know about you guys. Do you guys think we're going to play 4-2-3-1? I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm just saying I don't think there's any sign of that being a...
I think he's probably talking from PSG days. PSG might have played the 4-2-3-1 at times.
They played a 4-3-3 a lot as well. Dortmund, he played a 3 at the back. So Tuchel, the one thing I keep saying with Tuchel is that it's very early and we can't really make any assumptions on what formation he's going to play because he's played every formation. He's played all of them. So PSG never really played 3 at the back. He really tailors his formation to the profile of player that he's got at the club.
Yeah. And that can always change. So, with Tuchel, I don't think we're going to see one set formation. No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about double six at the moment, but it could very well not be a double six next season. It could just be a single six. Do you know what I mean? So we could be back to the whole lone DM attacking 8 sort of situation.
You never know.
You never know.
I'm seeing a lot of hype in the chat for Dembele now. I think I've brought back some reminiscent thoughts for people. In terms of the second part, do we need to sell Kante and bring in a DM for the final midfield position? Listen, I've spoken about Kante a lot. And for me, Kante and Jorginho are the 2 players in this team that are polar opposites. And I'm getting to the point where I can't even expect them to do the other person's job anymore. Like I can't even ask for it. Like I was complaining against Man United that Kante kept giving the ball away and kept turning over possession. I think in the first half especially. Second half, he was much better. And then when I look back on it a couple of days later, I was like, why am I complaining, man? I know this is going to happen. I'm bored. I'm tired. Jorginho the same. Like, why am I complaining if Jorginho, you know, sometimes will get bodied physically or will not be able to handle a transition? Like, why am I complaining? He's built for the counter press. And Kante's built for nipping around and making interceptions and passing, and he's not built for possession. So for me, at the moment, it's up to Tuchel. I don't know what he's going to do with Kante, to be honest. I don't really know, because I don't know where we play him. I don't know if he's going to find someone to pair him up with in the double sixes that's more physically imposing, like a Matic, or is he going to go with, you know, he's using Jorginho and Kova a lot at the moment. Is he going to go with a Jorginho type player who's a deep line playmaker to play alongside Kovacic? I don't know. I really don't know anymore, because that midfield, everybody speaks so highly of it. That midfield is absolute chaos for Chelsea at the moment. It's such a head scratcher, because we just don't know. It's just, ideology-wise, it's polar opposites in terms of the player profiles in there. I have no idea what we're going to do. So I'm tired. That's all I can say. Boys, what do you think about the whole Kante and Jorginho and just the whole midfield makeup in general? I think it's very screwed over.
Yeah. Go on.
Go,
All right.
Miz is like, I don't want this. No.
No, go on, because I made the point last. You go first this time.
Okay. I think personally, I've been thinking about this quite a bit actually, and it's a good conversational point for next season as well. I think he likes Kante. I think he definitely likes Kante. He said it as well many times that he's wanted Kante in PSG. The fact that he can't use Kante right now is because we don't have a complementary midfielder, defensive midfielder to play someone like Kante. So I don't think the whole Kovacic, Jorginho. If we think about can Jorginho and Kovacic actually win a Premier League for us, I personally don't think they can. I don't think these two players can actually be part of a title-winning challenge or title-winning team. Sorry. So right now they're doing a job, and I thank them so much for it. But personally, if we were to win a league or Champions League, I don't think these are the double sixes that they're going to deliver those titles. So Kante, however, can possibly be part of a double pivot, double six, that can give us a league title or that Champions League title. But he needs
Can he? Because he's declined a little bit. I know he's done it before, but can he actually do it? Because I'm seeing, this is the thing, I'm seeing very up and down performances now of Kante more regularly. We're having man in a match, but even the first half, I can still say I wasn't really that happy with it personally. I'm seeing terrible performances. I'm seeing great. It's very up and down from Kante, and I think a lot of people don't really want to notice it, or are not seeing that Kante is not the same player that he was a couple of years ago. Because I'm seeing up and I'm seeing down. I'm seeing up. I'm seeing down. Very
Matisse,
season now.
Give him a defensive midfielder that complements him, though. Don't give him Jorginho, Kovacic.
So what I'm saying in that then is are you willing to sacrifice the ball? Because a lot of Tuchel's gameplay this season has been with possession, and then suddenly now 50% possession against Manchester United in the first half. We sacrificed the ball a lot. We didn't win the game. So are you willing to sacrifice possession a little bit more as a team?
Well, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of the possession if it means we're going to be far more lethal and dynamic in attack. You know, for me at the moment, yes, we keep the ball, we keep the possession very well. I've got no issues with that for the time being. But we're not clinical up front. All that possession, all of those, things need to lead up to something. So for me, I'm more than happy, and I don't think Tuchel is a particular manager that just wants to hold possession for the sake of possession. I think, once again, I had Mediano Era in my channel a couple of days ago, and he was saying that Tuchel, much like Pep as well, at times they hold the possession as a mechanism of that's a form of defense as well. So I see Tuchel doing that in the form of, that's a way of defending so that the opposition doesn't have the ball as well. I don't think next season, I don't know what's going to happen with Tuchel, what he does, and this is what I'm excited to see. But I think he's going to go to the avenue where he wants to be far more dynamic. We need to score goals. We need to be clinical. We need to be, far more robust in our footballing style. So when I think about all of that, I think it has to be Kante. If you want to be robust, then give someone to complement Kante in the likes of, I don't know, a Marquinhos, for example, or a lot of people are still hyping on about Declan Rice, for example. I know he's off the radar at the moment, but Kante, Declan Rice, let's be honest, he has improved immensely.
I don't think Declan Rice is off the radar. I think it's a negotiation tactic from Marina to bring the price down. I think Tuchel is a manager that likes to look in league when he makes his signings as well, because he knows about the adaptation period and all this kind of stuff. People that think we're just going to rob the Bundesliga because we've got Tuchel in charge, I think you'd be mistaken. I think he will look in league for the best talents here. Now, whether he approves of Declan Rice, we'll have to wait and see. But if he wants to hold a midfielder, it depends what formation you're going to play. Because if you play 2 6s, then you need a double pivot type holder, and that's where you need to look in there. If you're going to play a 4-3-3, I think Kante's future becomes way more sketchy, because I don't want to really see in the modern era, in the modern game right now. I don't think Kante even fits into a 4-3-3, because I don't want to see him as lone DM again. I've said that from the beginning. And right-sided centre mid, he's not really box to box. We're talking about players like Telemans. He's not that. So I think if we play a 4-3-3 under Tuchel, which he did at PSG quite a bit, I don't think Kante really has a future. If he's going to play a double 6, then he does have a future, but it depends on who you pair him with, like you said. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I think, I don't know, man. This midfield is just a headache, really. I'm not going to lie. Someone said it earlier. A blend of the two would be brilliant. I think that's the issue here, is that we've got too many players that can do specific things but can't do everything. And I look at Chelsea's midfield of old, when we was playing with box-to-box midfielders, playing with Lampards, Essiens, Ballats. They had a bit of everything, They had a bit of everything. And I think now, even Makelele, but now it's just because Makelele was brilliant on the ball. Makelele now. This is why when those comparisons with Kante, they pissed me off to new levels. Them comparisons between Makelele and Kante, I couldn't believe it. I was like, if you never watched Makelele, where does that comparison even come from? The fact that they're both French and petite, it doesn't make any sense. No, it makes no sense. Two completely, Makelele on the ball, it's different class on the ball. So for me, all I know is I want a holding midfielder that is a little bit a blend between Jorginho and Kante, and can be a bit more well-rounded. They might not get
someone like Matic, Matisse. We underrate Matic so much. Matic has had goals, assists, but it's his movement side to side. Do you know what I mean? The lateral movement, the way he would be able to, protect someone like Cesc Fabregas, or even when he partnered with Kante, when Kante would bomb up. Matic is that type of a profile who is robust in defense, great tackler, physicality, but still very good with the ball as well. Matic was excellent with the ball. And he had the production. He was there with assists and he was there with goals as well. So that's the type of profile that you would go for. And to be honest, Declan Rice kind of fits that bill. Marquinhos fits that bill. Someone mentioned Bissouma.
Calvin Phillips was mentioned as well. I think he's a very good player.
Calvin Phillips is great. But with Calvin Phillips, I do want to see him a few more seasons in the Premier League with leagues before I give it a shot. But Bissouma is one I think I saw in the chat that
for Brighton.
Yeah, from Brighton. He's very good, Bissouma.
Yeah. And
then also to now throw it back to Younes. Yeah, don't forget the players like Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Conor Gallagher and all of that. So I'm pretty sure Tuchel will have their thoughts as well moving into next season, how he wants to set up with them. So yeah, to you, my man, Younes.
Yeah, no, it's a very, very deep topic. It can go on for hours because we know Kante is a top player. There is the thing, though, and I agree completely, is that he does need someone next to him that complements him enough and can offer a little bit more, which is completely of the balance that we need and the balance that we don't have at the moment. As we've said, Jorginho or Kovacic are, one-dimensional in what they do. Likewise for Kante. I think with a Kante, you do need someone next to him that is more well-rounded and can be defensively as effective as him. Because if you put the two together as a pairing, then flipping out. To get past those two is going to be a mission. And as well as that, you have the player next to Kante that is able to take the ball and pick out any passes or get involved in an attack or, drive with the ball like we know Kante can't really do, as well as, in that context, a midfielder that can provide assists or even score goals, which we are definitely not going to get in our midfield at the moment. We don't have a central midfielder at the moment that is going to score. Yeah. And when you look back in the day, you look at before, you had Lampard that scores goals for fun. Barak could score. Essien could score. It's just
even Ramirez. Even Ramirez was more balanced in terms of being a midfielder than a lot of the midfielders we had. He could dribble a little bit. He could score goals every now and then. We saw that finish against Barcelona. We saw that finish against, I think, Manchester City, where he kind of against, I think, Manchester United, where he kind of checked back onto his right foot. We've seen he's obviously got the box-to-box element. Athletically, he can put in a tackle. This is what I'm talking about. Our midfield, whether it's Kante, whether it's Jorginho, even Kova, all of them have just got glaring weaknesses in certain areas that just hamper us every time. Ramirez doesn't have that. And you could just go on and on and on about box-to-box midfielders that just do not have that issues. Someone said here, can we try Mount alongside Kante for a game? I honestly could not think of what would be worse, because there's no natural holding midfielder there, bro. I keep saying this. If you're going to play,
gonna bomb up.
The thing is with Matic, we just spoke about it. Matic was the perfect double pivot sitter, because as a playmaker, he had a bit of variation with his passing. He had actually a very good passer, and when he wanted to pull it out as well. There's one season where he got a lot of assists. Very good left foot. Could take a long shot as well. People forget that. Smashing long shot against Tottenham in the cup. He had a few of those in his locker, and he would sit. He wasn't going to go forward. Kante would roam. If you're going to play someone next to Kante, they have to be a sitter. It cannot be Mason Mount. It cannot be Mateo Kovacic. I honestly cannot say this enough times. It cannot be somebody who wants to move forward up the pitch, because then you leave Kante as, again, your sitter. Kante is not a sitter. I keep saying this. And even when we was playing him as a sitter, I said, cool. He might be playing a sitter now against teams that don't press. Let's see how he does against your Arsenals, against your Manchester Cities. And what happened? Same shit, different story. It's different day. And even Tuchel, when Tuchel comes in, once again, he doesn't play him as a sitter. Would Pep play him as a sitter? No, he wouldn't. He's top of the league. Would Klopp play him as a sitter? No, he wouldn't. He's been challenging for the league titles. I keep saying this. People don't want to listen. You know what I mean? They keep comparing him to Makelele. He's not a sitter. He's just not. A sitter is going to have the most touches on the pitch for a player for your team. They're going to have they're going to fall into the back three. If you're going to be a possession-based team, which is what we are now, and we've been trying to, and again, people keep talking about counter-attacking, and Chelsea used to be this and Chelsea used to be that. Look at Chelsea in the last 3 managers they've appointed. They've all been playing possession. So whether you like it or not, Chelsea are trying to play possession. Whether their transfer targets match that or not, Chelsea are trying to play with the ball. Our average in possession has gone up since Sarri, Lampard, and now Tuchel, in comparison to our 2 former managers before that, Mourinho and Conte. I don't even need to look at the statistics to know that's a fact. So the possession is coming back to us in terms of the team wants to play with the ball. No team plays on the ball with Kante as your sitter, with the most touches. We all know that, because we don't want Kante to have the most touches, because he's not that type of player. He's a destroyer. He's a interceptions and tackles, get around the pitch. In fact, his low sense of gravity can actually be used higher up the pitch, and his pressing can be used higher up the pitch to win the ball back when we want to do the counter press. So I still would like him higher up the pitch in that aspect as well. So for me, no, Mason Mount and Kante cannot play together. That's the long-winded way of saying that. Younes, go back. I'll let you go now. I just had to go on that rant, because I can't stand seeing these double pivots that have no damn sitter in it. It has no sitter and no deep line playmaker in it. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, no, for real. And a midfield or a deadly midfield needs a player or players that can offer things going forward in order to aid us scoring goals. That is just the truth. So you look at all the top midfields that get involved in the process of creating goals, and not just at the halfway line. I'm talking near the box. Right now, we don't have, it doesn't feel like we have midfielders that are able to aid our front men in overpiling men forward and creating that much turbulence or that much pressure. Because when you look in the opposition's eyes, they mark that front three, threat averted. And I think this is part of the process as to why we aren't really clinical. We aren't really creating any chances. It's because, one, we are easily marked out in terms of our front men. And there's no midfielder that has the capabilities to drag attention away and the creativity in order to bypass any of that threat coming to them and send the ball to one of our front men that has the space because they've dragged the attention. There's just not enough in that midfield for us to drag attention from the opponent that gives a bit of leeway to our front men in order to get more involved. And that way you create, and that way you catch your opponent off guard. I think it's very easy to mark against us. And this is where I fear we do need someone that is going to be a bit more robust next to a Kante. Or at least if we are going to have a Jorginho type player, someone that is able to even get a little bit more forward, as well as being physical enough to defend and make sure no one really gets past. So we just need more balance. And I think that is an area we need to focus on in terms of getting players in. We need to get a midfielder. I think many of the focus is on up front and on our defense. I do think an area of the pitch that we need to look at is our centre mid, for sure. Yeah. So, yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, we're going to wrap up now because it's been a long one. Special on Wednesday, very rare. We'll be back on Thursdays next week to the people that are probably going to come a day later and think, yo, what happened? Well, shit happens. Miz, final thoughts, bro, and let them know where to find you.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. Once again, we talked about a lot of stuff. And it's always good to come here and talk about that and share that with the live chat as well. But I do want to give one request to the live chat. Nearly 700 people on. Please smash that like button. I keep saying it. If you haven't seen a better Chelsea sort of show across the Chelsea community, then you really need to smash that like button and help this particular show out and be a part of something really, really huge, hopefully down the track. So yeah, that's pretty much my final thought. And yeah, you can find me on the other side of the coin. You may not find me for maybe, I don't know, I don't really know. I've got a surgery that's coming up tomorrow. So I do probably want to plug that. Besides anything else, do want all your well wishes tomorrow. I've got a surgery. So if every one of you guys can wish me well for that'd be more than enough. And the rest will take care of it.
100%. So that's why the show has moved as well. So like I said, subscribe to the other side of the coin. The link is in the description. Best wishes to Miz tomorrow as well, people. Younes, where can they find you, bro?
Yeah, no, as you can see, literally right here, Younes Talks Football, if you don't know already. And thank you to everyone that's tuned in, that's smashed the subscribe button for Matisse. Do the same for Miz. And yeah, before we sign off, Miz, good luck for tomorrow. I hope you smash it. I hope all goes well. And we look forward to having a fully recovered, back to his best Miz on here to provide you with all the banter and jokes that we know he can provide you with. So
and this is the beauty now. We've switched. So you can see the channels are all linked, are all up on the screen there. The other side of the coin is there for you as well. So make sure you go and subscribe. Link is in the description. Make sure you like this, obviously, as well. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe to the channel as well. And people will be back tonight. Team Coppish 7:30 with all the boys from Team Coppish. We're going to talk Liverpool preview even more and just get into the depths of how Liverpool are going to approach the game, and obviously team news, because we don't even know who's fit at this point. There's just players just coming back out of nowhere, and I'm very worried. So we're going to be back, double upload today, 7:30 with Team Coppish, and then back again tomorrow, review, and obviously London Clubs Carnage with the new West Ham fan as well at 11 a.m. with Lee and Toby. So double uploads for the next 2 days, people. I will see you later on today in a bit, people.